Greetings. Thanks to everyone for coming out to our group author reading. This reading is brought to you by Strong Women, Strange Worlds, which is a group of authors supporting authors. Our mission is to elevate the voices of women and non-binary authors of science fiction, fantasy, and horror through events like our bi-monthly virtual QuickRead sessions. You can find more about Strong Women, Strange Worlds in the handout we've provided in the chat and by visiting our website, a link to which will be added into the chat at https://strongwomenstrangeworlds.weebly.com. I'd also like to take a moment to thank those who have made a tip jar donation. We appreciate you so very much. I'm your host today, Sarah Smith, standing in for your usual host, Elaine Isaac. And you can find out more about me and Elaine in the provided handout as well. Please note that the recording of this session by the audience isn't allowed, and recording of electronic communications, including Zoom meetings and webinars without permission, is illegal. There, we got that over with. Today, we'll be featuring 6 authors: Shantell Powell, Angela Sylvaine, Jody Lyn Nye, Ennis, Rook, Bashe, Jo Stufflebeam, and Kristina W. Kelly. Each author will have 8 minutes to read. Ready? Here we go. Our first reader is Shantell Powell. Shantell Powell is a 2-spirit swamp hag raised in an apocalyptic cult on the land and off the grid. A graduate of the Writers' Studio at SFU, her writing is in Argue Magazine, The Deadlands, Solar Punk Magazine, and more. She writes, wrangles chinchillas, and gets filthy in the woods. Shan, take it away.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to be reading today from the anthology Bitter Become the Fields, and my short story is called The Last Trench. I awake at the witching hour amongst a flood of ghosts. We rise from our unmarked graves, twisting and twirling like smoke in disturbed stillness. The full moon hides behind heavy clouds, and as the midnight wind picks up, we dissipate amongst the rattling dead leaves which cling to skeletal trees. Every year on this night, we dance through the air. The dance is short. We have only until this time the next evening. I race the other phantoms, returning to the site of so many deaths, to a place where too many phantasms emerged. I died in the war, but I don't remember which death that was. There have been so many. My death is muddled together with that of the other ghosts. Our suffering braids together into howls of gusting wind. If I find the place of my body's passing, then I have a chance of ending the cycle. I ride the advection of late autumn's eddies, blowing away the final traces of warmth. I drop with the condensation to the battlefield. No bombs or broken bodies are strewn here tonight, but forgotten bone fragments remain buried beneath the lawn. This terrible site has become a place of beauty, and dead grass sparkles with falling frost in the moonlight. I must find the place where I exhaled my last breath. I waft around and around the perimeter of the battlefield. That was the barbed wire spot. That was the last trench before no man's land in the shattered copse. And then I see the old tree where I was dragged to cover. Yes, that is the old oak where I held in my guts and leaked out my life. This tree is a gnarled ancient. All the others are young, planted in pleasing rows beside paved trails and fallow flower beds, but she stands alone. Her branches spread like rheumatic fingers reaching for the moon. I pour myself into a high knothole. Inside, I find seed husks, nutshells, rodent droppings, a cannonball. The other ghosts have moved on, torn away by the shrieking wind. When the first silver glimmers of dawn appear, my restlessness is soothed. I am not alone, though the other specters are long gone. I am safe within the heart of this grandmother oak. The wind dies and icy leaves hang still. Last night's frost was heavy, and both tree and battlefield are covered with the shining lace of hoarfrost. I see it without eyes, feel the bite of an early winter as spiky ice crystals burst through ringed heartwood. A bird begins to trill in the branches above. Why did she not fly south? Why did I not fly south? Why did I join the ranks to fight in an unrighteous war? The bird trills again, and then a flurry of wings as she takes flight, and a raven takes her place. Now the raven speaks with a voice like spring melt and tumbling gravel. I see you, dead thing. Why are you here, dead thing? I want forgiveness, a chance to do better, I whisper. You already have it, says the raven, and she flies away as a white sun rises in a gray sky. November hatches, the dourest month of all. Early morning joggers enter the battlefield. Their breath rises in clouds around them, feet crunch through frost, leaving melted footprints. I go to leave the tree, to return to my grave, but find I don't need to. I feel the thoughts of the oak within me, the ache of sap drying up before winter, the cold, sluggish sloughing of glaucous, leathery leaves, the roots communicating with the young trees through mycelial handshakes. The tree speaks with a wooden accent. She remembers me, thanks me for the blessing of blood spilled in a protective circle around her trunk. So I died in order that she might live? I can accept this. A tree is a holy creature, and maybe now my death holds meaning. Apricity melts the ice and mist hangs in the air. Some of the ghosts are back now that the wind is gone. They loiter in vapor, swirling about the legs of passers-by. Only the children and the very old seem to notice. The children kick at the mist. The elders pause, unmoving, leaning on canes and walkers, passed by impatient runners holding strange devices. When am I? How long has it been since I died? A dog approaches the tree at noon, sniffs and raises a leg. I feel the stream of urine as the tree does, a blast of heat trickling between the roots. Our roots. I am becoming rooted. I am becoming one with this good-hearted tree, pockmarked by gunfire, scabbed over by thick, gnarled bark. The wood around the hidden cannonball healed long ago. Funny that a direct hit should be survivable. Funny that this wounded wood became a home to generations of creatures. Funny that this has become my final resting place. I never paid much heed to trees when I was alive, but now I feel the intake of carbon dioxide, the soft exhalation of oxygen, and I am awestruck by the silent generosity of trees. To become one with a tree is a high honor. Day ends, pulling closed the shutters of dusk, and a crepuscular silence blooms in the darkness. Streetlights blink on, blossoms of blue, white, and orange halos. Thank you.
That is amazing. That is just amazing. Thank you, Shan. Our second reader is Angela Sylvaine. Angela Sylvaine is a self-proclaimed cheerful goth who writes speculative fiction and poetry. Details about her novel, Frostbite, novella, Chopping Spree, and short story collection, The Dead Spot, Stories of Last Girls, as well as her dozens of short fiction and poetry publications, can be found at angelasylvaine.com. Angela, over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is New Hue. Tox tried cotton candy once, back when she wiggled through a gap in the wall during spree. She had been hiding in the shadows, watching the beautiful people pass in their fine clothes, when a boy threw away a paper cone still sticky with the sugary remnants, and Tox fished it from the garbage. The sweetness singed her taste buds. She had that same feeling when she saw the matriarch. Their ruler visited Lowtown to ensure the diggers, the cutters, the scavengers, and the rest kept up their work. The sight of the matriarch, a rare pink, melted into Tox's eyes like candy. Lips of crushed flower petals, shattered rose quartz eyes, and hair to match the most glorious pink sunset. The scent of toasted marshmallows wafted through the air, rolling from the matriarch in waves. Lying on the dirt floor of her shack, chisel clutched for protection, Tox dreamt of being a chroma. But she'd been born a stone, a lesser. Thought she'd never shine like a pink. Thought she'd always blend in with the chunks of rock she honed and carved for use in the skyscrapers. Until she found a torn and trampled section of a newspaper with an ad on the back. It read, "New hue equals new you." Revel in every color of the spectrum. Apricot, crimson, amethyst, jade, caramel, and more. For a limited time, dianthus pink. Priced from 150 to 700 credits. Full transformation guaranteed. Available at New Hue Automats. Effects last 24 hours. Dianthus pink, the rarest of the chroma, the color of cotton candy and the matriarch. Tox had just over 700 credits stored on the card buried in her dirt floor. Credits she planned to spend on a pod in Upper Lowtown when one opened, enough to pay rent for a full year. She let the clipping slip from her fingers to land in the muddy puddle at her feet. Something struck her forehead and she winced, pressing her fingers to the wound. They came away tinged gray. Beside her, an old man, a rust, cried out and fell to his knees. Laughter erupted from the wall, where several chroma kids sat, pellet guns raised. "Told ya, they even bleed filthy," one said. Tox helped the man to his feet and led him to shelter. He lived just down from her, had known her mother when she was alive, before the dust and grit filled her lungs so she could no longer breathe. "You okay?" Tox asked, earning only a grunt. His skin hung off his skull, and she figured he'd be dead too soon. She saw herself reflected in his vacant eyes, knew that she'd end up like him soon enough. Tox worked nights, chiseling a hole in the wall large enough for her thin frame. She slipped through, something she hadn't done in years. The streets near the wall were quiet, though the sounds of music and raucous voices carried from the center of the city. She crept along the buildings, wondering which of the bricks had been carved by her hands, by her mother's. The road shone in the light of the street lamps, whose metalwork was crafted by rusts like the old man who had been shot. A row of automats lined the sidewalk, selling food, clothing, and all manner of devices powered by lesser mind zinc. A mixture of jealousy and anger simmered inside her at those born on this side of the wall, those who knew nothing of physical work, who only consumed. Tox hated herself for wanting to be like them, even for a day, but she had to fill that deep ache, told herself that once would be enough, that she'd cherish the memory, replay it every night as she lay shivering on that dirt floor. The New Hue automat featured a rainbow screen that repeated the words from the ad, and she swiped her card. Thoughts of the pod she'd saved for disappeared as the limited time offer popped up on the screen, and she made her selection. the most expensive hue. It reduced her balance to 16 credits. A drawer extended to reveal a silver packet labeled Dianthus Pink. She snatched the pouch and hid in the shadows behind the automats. The label promised 24 hours of living as the most coveted of all the chroma. One just had to swallow the candy within. Below that instruction, it read, "Warning, consumption by lessers punishable by death." Tox tore open the pouch to reveal a clear, glassy orb filled with sparkling pink liquid. She popped the candy in her mouth and it dissolved, releasing a spray of pure sugar sweeter than even that glorious taste of cotton candy. Her vision changed first, drenching the world in a rosy glow. The smell of vanilla followed, seeping from every pore. Scalp tingling, she rounded the automats to peer at her reflection in the silvery surface. Her lank hair sprang into fuchsia spirals, and her lips plumped and deepened in color. Tox's skin shifted from gray to a shimmering coral, and for the first time in her life she felt good. A tinkling giggle slipped from her throat as she spun into the street, dancing under the glow of streetlights. The next 24 hours stretched ahead, her mind spinning with possibilities of all she could experience. First, she'd use her precious credits to buy clothes. But before she could take a step toward the automats, her leg crumbled beneath her, pain crackling through her bones. Tox wilted to the ground, writhing as her feet solidified and snapped from her ankles in pink-tinged chunks of stone. Next came her fingers and hands. When she opened her mouth to scream, her tongue split and shattered into bits of gravel. Her head fell back, skull cracking on the asphalt. Punishment by death wasn't a warning. It was a design. They'd engineered New Hue to execute any lesser who dared dream of a life beyond Lowtown. The syrupy sweetness of her own warped blood choked her throat, then turned to cement, cutting off her last honey-scented breath. The repetitive hum of a robotic street cleaner sounded, angling toward the pile of dianthus stones. The machine was programmed to patrol near the automats, to gather any piles of rock, bits of metal, bunches of rag, or other detritus. That's it. And by the way, this collection was just nominated for a Bram Stoker Award, which is pretty cool. And I am giving away 3 ebook copies of this, so make sure you register for the giveaway.
Yo. Angela, you call yourself a cheerful goth? I would hate to meet you in a less than cheerful mood. Thank you so much. Our third reader is Jody Lyn Nye. Jody Lyn Nye lists her main career activity as spoiling cats. She also writes SF and fantasy, most of it humorous, publishing 50-some books and over 200 short stories. Jody teaches the 2-day intensive workshop at Dragon Clan and is coordinating judge for the Writers of the Future contest. Jody, it's yours.
Thank you. This is from The Dragon's Cat, which, as you see on the screen, is from Feisty Felines and Other Fantastical Familiars. "Warm," said a tiny high voice somewhere around the armpit under Sokol's left wing. The dragon began to nose through her iridescent pearl and coral-colored scales. It wasn't unknown for parasites to nestle in against her hot skin, but they hardly ever talked. She nudged the scales back, searching, but the tickle receded farther away toward her spine. It annoyed her to be invested. How long had it been since she had given herself a good, cleansing burst of fire? But this felt larger than the usual insects that burrowed down to get away from the chill of her mountainside lair. Sokol kept twisting her long neck until she uncovered a small mat of gray fur. Ah! She picked it up between thumb and foreclaw. An unexpected, tasty morsel. She opened her jaws and extended her long pink tongue. The bundle struggled, fighting to loosen her grip on it. "Oh!" it exclaimed, clawing at her paw with minute ivory talons. It wasn't an insect. It was a kitten. It had fluffy light gray fur embossed with stripes of darker gray, small round paws, and an isosceles triangle of a ringed gray tail. Its head seemed much too large for its little body. It wasn't scared. Rather, the small creature opened indignant, large green eyes, as though furious to have been pulled away from its warm nest. Shantell was taken aback. Well, predators didn't ordinarily eat predators. True, they often fought for the same food supply, but this tiny creature couldn't possibly eat enough, maybe in its whole lifetime, to take away a full meal from her. She set it down on the stone floor, just short of the jumbled pile of gold treasure that made up her bed. Immediately, the tiny beast leaped for her forearm, clambered up, and attempted to burrow its way back under her wing. "Just a minute, where do you think you're going?" she asked, taking it by the scruff again and lifting it to eye level. The black pupils spread across the green irises, and it blinked beguilingly. "Warm," it said again. "You're too young to be out on your own," Shantell said, looking around. "Where's your mother?" "Yours," the kitten said. "You're not mine." "Yes!" As if to prove it, the kitten rubbed its cheek against Shantell's nose. She sniffed, and the intake of air made the kitten wobble in her grasp. It smelled good, clean, familiar, like her own babies of decades past. "Yours." Shantell fought against the scent. It was making her feel maternal again. "How did you get in here?" "Dunno." It raved its front feet, and a bubble of light grew between them, and an image formed inside of it. Shantell was so surprised she nearly dropped the little creature. It had magic. No ordinary cat could manifest an illusion. Was the kitten part dragon? She peered at the colorful cloud. The little creature was in the middle of it with three more like it, lying against a smooth wall of striped fur. That must be the mother's belly. Then the image of the others dropped away, as though the kitten had been picked up by the scruff. Light suffused the image, and the next thing she could see was the entrance of her own cavern. She knew it because of the smear of melted gold on the stones of the opening. "So your mother left you here," Shantell said. "Well, we need to get you back to her." But where to begin? Finding one cat out of thousands or millions in Ombrod must be impossible. Fortunately, she knew someone who was well-versed in the impossible. She tucked the kitten under the scales at the back of her neck. "Come along," she said. "We're going to go find your mother." Shantell spread her wings and arrowed out of the cave into the cold morning air. The kitten sang, its tones piercing her eardrums like a spear. It didn't sound scared. It sounded thrilled. "I don't need a kitten," Shantell complained to Boren, the court wizard who served the Queen of Ombrod, the kingdom just over the mountain range from her high cave fastness. His circular stone tower stood high over the capital city of Duranton, and its crenellated roof was large enough for her to land on if she curled around the flagpole at its center. Boren looked at her, his blue eyes twinkling over his gold-rimmed half-spectacles, so startling in his dark brown face. She suspected he didn't really need the glass circles, but their presence gave him a look of greater wisdom. They had been friends nearly a century and had seen 4 kings and queens take the throne in his time. "Obviously, someone. I suspect the mother believes that you do," he said, chuckling. The kitten had crawled out of Shantell's scale and nestled in between Boren's silvering beard and fluffy knitted scarf. "Friendly little fellow, isn't he?" "It's a boy, then?" Boren plucked the small beast from his garments, held it up, and peered under the tail. "Yes, definitely a boy. He did magic, you say?" "Yes, an illusion. A memory, I think," Shantell said, watching the wizard playing with the kitten. "His mother and the rest of the clutch." "Litter," Boren corrected her. "Well, I think you can rule out giving him away." "Why, I can't be forced to adopt him." "It's not a matter of being forced. I take it you've never heard of the cat distribution system." "No!" Shantell lashed her tail into one of the stone crenellations, causing it to shift against the mortar holding it in place, threatening to send it falling over the side of the tower. Boren flicked out the hand not holding the cat, and the stone settled back. Grinding sounds ensued as the cement mended itself. "That sounds like foolish wizard talk." "It's only that it has been proven to be true over and over again. A cat, or in your case a kitten, appears in your vicinity to assuage a need one of you has. It aids in the balance of power, offers companionship to those who need it, augments or controls magic, and sometimes provides something to care for those who have forgotten compassion. I don't need a cat, Sokol snapped. Well, maybe he needs you, Boren said. Did you ever find out his name? Perhaps there's a clue there. What are you called, son? Nero, the kitten replied. They leaped from Boren's grasp and snuggled back into the beard and scarf. Purring emerged from the woolly nest. Sokol shook her head. You see, he doesn't even know his name. I think that is his name, Boren said. He reached into the air. Suddenly, a huge royal blue-bound book was in his hand. He thumbed through its pages. Well, you have a new friend here whose name is steeped in legend. Nero means defender. Such a well-named creature would make an excellent familiar, my friend. I do not need the defender that is less than bite-sized, Sokol said, nor do I require a familiar. My magic is sufficient for my needs. I want only to find his mother and return him to her. And for more, you can read the story.
Jody Lyn, thank you.
My pleasure.
Our fourth reader is Ennis Rook Bashe. Ennis Rook Bashe is an Elgin and Riesling Award finalist, TAP New York Writers Institute Poetry Prize a winner, and HWA Dark Poetry Scholarship winning poet, novelist, and game designer. Their chapbook, Beautiful Malady, includes work nominated for the Pushcart Prize. Congratulations, Ennis. Go for it.
I will be reading a mix of poems from my chapbook and poems published in other places. Let's go. This universe and all others. Goddess of cryogenics and cave silt, of wheelchairs on spider legs, of clockwork hearts, sword canes in ballrooms and bionic eyes on the spaceship bridge, one arm of translucent bone, or with an armored exoskeleton to hold in joints, goddess of wolves warning of seizures and glowing transplant drugs extracted from corpses, of blindness sans clairvoyance, gemstone dragons hoard glass eyes, goddess of cyborgs, goddess of each wizard who leans on their staff. Let us, in any universe, refuse to be erased. My next poem is called The Vampire Lestat, and it was published in the Halloween issue of Cream Scene Carnival. I want to snap him like a glow stick. I am violent about this angelic persistence predator, eyes forbidden sky blue, wild open with yearning, drawn to lick the knife's edge. I want a slow motion replay of him getting punched in the face, fed laudanum and absinthe, impossibly perfect cheekbones slashed by his own daughter's furious nails. I want him to kiss the consequences of every callous thing he's ever done. He deserves tuberculosis, having his hair braided with oil of jasmine, a massage and a bubble bath, burning to death on the edge of a forsaken slimy swamp. I want him bleeding out in a gutter, gazing upwards in wonder, still in love with the stars. My next poem is called You're Trans, So Did You Always Know? And it was the winner of this is a long one, Troy Architectural Project, New York State Institute Pride Poetry Contest, 2024. I scraped the glitter of lost realization off the kitchen floor each morning. At night, tiny storm silver fish slipped through my fingers. Fear clouded the water. Laughter's derision, wind rippling, they darted away. One day, the clouds broke beneath their own weight. The rain fell upwards, painting me sapphire, lightning in my palms. A rapture of wing burst, fish into swans, undrowning, from water to air. Oxygen break. My next poem is called Poem for Planeswalkers, and it was in a FanWorks exhibition called Affirmation Transformation at the Haggerty Museum of Art. You step through the gate locked from all possibility, the barred dungeon one sunrise from bleak execution, leap from a rooftop aiming only for down. There can be nothing in this world for you but the leaving it. No path but the road between a star and a star. Your hands must be smeared with blood when the key turns for you. It cannot be forgiven, it can still be your own. Maybe a boy thrashed death throes in your arms, like your brother twisting himself between you and the axe. Maybe you tried to claw off your own skin. You do not imagine fleeing the funeral, the trial, death march taunts. But the fire inside you takes longing as kindling, devours everything but flight, puts a map in your footsteps, and there you are, nowhere. Now you are here. How are we on time?
Terri, have you been looking at the time? I've been just mesmerized. Give it a couple more minutes, I say.
All right. My next poem is from my chapbook. It's about Transformers, kind of, and it's called Alternate Mode Mobility Aid. Every giant robot would adore the ones who use machines to live, how we cradle our wheelchairs after the wrecking predations of plane crew, buff our IV fluid ports, speak in quotes, speak in chirps. They'd lift us with a single silver finger. You roll too? Ah, we have fought against caste via construction, against form choosing rank. Bulldozers molding ourselves into guns, helicopters patching their rotary blades. Disobey anyone who offers pellets of food for obedience, who tries to swap your head with a screen of approved conversations, your hands with stilled claws, or declaiming crimson and azure and gravitas. I have died no less than 15 times, locked in stasis, orbited dead planets, without the past millennia of memories, without my face, with wires sparking from an arm ripped off. Everything driving towards entropy deserves to be free. And let's do one more piece. Let's do Hemiplegic Migraine as Willing Human Sacrifice, which is a 2024 Riesling finalist, and it was originally published in Eternal Haunted Summer. Unspool word wire from the forge blow of my head. Leave me with a snarl of isolated syllables. Leave me with Oberon. Leave me with incantations. Leave me with admiration. Fuck. Take half of my body and transmute it into electricity, fizzing, untouchable. Make the other half your clay. The idea of my skull split open when I slumped to the ground in an emergency room and doctors spoke gently to me for the first time in my life. I can't stand for 6 minutes, but my senses number many more. Power tugs the frayed strings of my nerves, pulling my numb hands to predictions. The orbs surrounding tulips knock me back with dazzling light. Peppermints slip under my tongue during rituals like sublingual Nurtec as the Fae glitter loudly. Places of enchantment spin, lurching me out. I press my forehead to the nearest tree, told to count breaths. Eat a handful of lychees. Fight or flight distills to stillness, roots reaching through the ground, palms to the earth. Take my willing sacrifice of mortal chaos. I lose all words but prayer. Great, thank you. My book, Beautiful Malady, is available from Interstellar Flight Press.
Ennis, thank you. I don't know if you saw that people, the things people were saying in the chat, look back at them and say, yes, give us more.
Aww.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to read the comments.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. Our fifth reader is Jo Stufflebeam. Jo Stufflebeam is the author of the horror novel Grim Root and the story collection Where You Linger. Her short fiction has appeared in over 90 publications and 6 languages. By night, she's a 2-time finalist for the Nebula Award, and by day, she works as a narrative designer for a mobile game. She lives in Texas with a mysterious number of cats. Barry, take it away.
Yeah, hi. I'm excited to read for you guys today, and I'm especially excited to read with Angela. We have the same publisher, so we're publisher besties. All right, I will be reading from this novel. It is a reality TV dating show meets a haunted house. Here we go. Even before coming on the dating show, Linda knew that she would need to refer to herself as broken. It was the only way a vague Iowa boy like the groom would accept a divorcee with a tendency for distant expressions. For their first solo date, Tristan took her to a taxidermist's oddity shop. When he removed the blindfold, she yelped. Before her, a stuffed bobcat raged, teeth bared, tongue an ungodly shade of pink as it lolled from its mouth. Then Linda laughed, remembering the camera behind her and the people wielding it. "This is where you take a lady?" she asked him. "What can I say?" His drawl was too much. She followed him, meandering so the camerawoman Jazz could follow, to a glass case that held several jars of eyeballs and viscous fluid, carved wooden monsters, and skeletons of different animals glued together to make strange beasts. "Any wife of mine can't be scared of weird stuff," he said. "Want to know a little secret? I love horror movies. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to watch them, but I did. They're my guilty pleasure." Tristan wasn't the most eloquent of men, but to her surprise, Linda found herself entertained by the young pilot, whose foremost redeeming feature was his pocketbook. Before coming on the show, she had expected to be bored by the sight of his broad chest and eager to leave his presence, but she didn't hate his company after all. He was easy on the eyes, if not her type, though sometimes she wonders if the producers had slipped her some herb meant to make her a love-struck maiden. She looked forward to their dates. Except she wasn't a maiden, and that was the reason those producers accepted her application. She was the token divorcee. She understood her role. She understood her lines. It soothed her to have a script, however unwritten. "I love horror," she said. "The bloodier, the better." She didn't watch horror or movies of any kind. These days, she thrived on reality TV shows where broke dreamers begged rich people to fund them, and sometimes got what they asked for. She liked the wish fulfillment, and a dating show was a similar animal. Linda's most prescient hobby, however, was her garden. Tristan watched her with the doe eyes he could switch on in an instant. He reached out and tucked her hair behind her ear. "You couldn't be more perfect," he said. "Hold there," the camerawoman said. "I want that from another angle." Linda chewed her lip. She'd known the shoot would be long when the bigwig producer assigned Jazz to it. Jazz moved to the other side of the couple and set up her rig. Linda adjusted the scratchy microphone clipped into her clothes. "Again," the camerawoman said. Linda stood still, waiting to repeat the scene. "Linda, your hair," Jazz said, "needs to be untucked." "Oh, right," Linda grimaced. The reality show experience was a strange one. She untucked her hair. "I love horror," she repeated. "The bloodier, the better." Tristan's eyes went full doe as he retucked her hair. "You couldn't be more perfect," he said again. "Shall we?" When he extended his hand, she clasped it, and they weaved through more glass cases with eerie items. Tristan stopped in the back of the store. Linda paused beside him and discovered the object of his entranced gaze, the dried brown hide of some created creature. It was 5 feet taller than they were, with a gaping mouth, knotty lips, hands like branches, and feet like roots. It had no eyes. "I love creepy shit," Tristan said. Linda's stomach twisted. The thing was too uncanny for her to appreciate it as a curiosity. It made her want to stop looking, to forget that it ever existed. She remembered that Tristan had said something. She was expected to respond, and she pulled the words to the forefront of her mind as she looked away from the skin. He loved creepy shit, he had said. But how was she supposed to respond? She knew that already. He told her 10 minutes ago. Her life these days was a series of deja vu, if not from repeating her lines from different angles, then from having the same conversations over and over with the handsome dreg. "You're cute," she said. She kept herself from adding, "Thank God." After the taxidermist shop, Tristan took her to a courtyard between 2 hotels. In the courtyard's center, a convocation of gargoyles hunched over a spurt of water, their backs to whoever was unlucky enough to stand beside the fountain. The crew had draped a round marble table, a round table with a red cloth. On the table, the producers had placed 2 plates with green beans, mashed potatoes, and 2 cuts of rare steak. A decanter of red wine was set between the glasses. 2 cameramen joined Jazz. They set up 1 camera across from the table and 1 on either side of the couple. The setting sun chilled the autumn air. The producers had kindly also set up 2 outdoor gas heaters. As Linda settled into a Gothic wrought iron chair, she inhaled the steak's sweet blood scent. It was a damn pity that the groom and his potential brides were discouraged from eating on camera. While getting ready for the date, Linda had scruffed a protein bar, but she adored a good steak. "We're rolling," Jazz said. "You passed the test," Tristan said as soon as the lights went red. "I didn't even study," Linda said. Tristan guffawed. "You're smart," he said. "I like that." Linda wanted to readjust the chair, but she didn't want to reshoot. Tristan poured 2 glasses of red and passed her one. "Shall we?" "We shall," Linda said. They clinked glasses. "To our future," Tristan said. "To our future," Linda repeated. She sipped the wine. At least they were allowed, nay encouraged, to drink. "So, Linda Meadows, is there anything I should know about you?" Linda longed to glance at the cameras, but she kept her gaze focused on the groom. These situations and conversations weren't scripted, but they were part of a set of calls and responses ingrained on anyone who had ever seen even 1 episode of the show. "As a matter of fact, there is," she said. Tristan set down his glass as if on cue. "You can tell me anything." He smoldered. Linda fidgeted with her pinky ring. She was nervous to tell him. She was worried she might get it wrong and have to redo the conversation. And she was tired, eager to be alone at the mansion while the other women went on their group date the next day. She needed to get it right. It was expected of her. Every second one-on-one ended with a tearful confession. "I was married for 5 years," she said, "but it didn't work out." "Wow," he said. She was never sure if he feigned his surprise. "What happened?" Linda took another sip of wine and paused for dramatic effect. She had decided what she would say when she accepted the invitation to appear on the show. "We were too young. We didn't have the same values," she said. "He didn't value family or romance, and all I wanted was love." The truth was that she had met him at a time when she was broke of wallet and spirit both, and he offered her a job with his landscaping firm and a hand to hold when she felt darkness closing in. At first, as her work slowly healed her, he soothed her worries. He assured her that she was a good person deep down, no matter what horrible things she'd done in her past. But as the years elapsed, he stopped looking at her through his oxytocin-tinted contacts and decided she wasn't healing fast enough. She was cold. Oh, she was cold, he told her, and sometimes the glints that gleamed in her eyes frightened him. Linda wasn't exactly lying to Tristan. She did want a person of her own, someone to see her in a warm light, but it wasn't her ex-husband who kept it from her. Rather, she didn't know how to crack open the cage of her ribs and offer her insides for viewing. Tristan placed his hand on hers. "I understand. Family's so important." "I feel like I'm broken," she said. She let her voice catch in the middle. "How could you ever want me?" "Linda, no." Tristan took the wine glass from her and set it on the table. He got up from his chair and stepped over to her. He wrapped his arms around her shoulders and kissed the lobe of her ear. "I'll make you whole again," he said. He smelled like aftershave. "I know you will," she said. And maybe he would. She wasn't broken, but she wasn't whole. Unlike many of the other women vying for his attention, she understood, through the strength of age and subsequent experience, that someone could house 2 opposing forces within the same body. His voice hummed in her ear, and she laughed as a shiver shot down her spine. It had been a while since she'd allowed herself to let go, and letting go surrounded by cameras was more difficult. The wine helped. She felt at ease as he kissed her tenderly. She understood the appeal of him, of the competition, of romance on camera where the world could see the best parts of you, the lovable parts. Her body buzzed with unknowing. The future was hers for the seizing. She kissed him back as the cameras and the gargoyles watched. And that's it. Woo.
Cool. Thank you, Benny Jo. That is, I'm amazed at how well you know the backside of reality shows. Very interesting. Our final reader is Kristina W. Kelly. Kristina Kelly His works include a co-authored science fantasy novel, Trials of the Innermost, the sapphic fantasy romance, adventure, Tavern Tales, and the SF and fantasy poetry collection, Imaginary. Kristina is a trumpet player, plays video games, and tends to her flower garden and 2 children in Indiana. Kristina.
Thank you. And the video games connect because this book was inspired by my favorite role-playing games. Chapter 1, The Sultry Sapphire. A brass-fastened chest thumped on the bar of the Sultry Sapphire in front of Divine, the wood-on-wood sound muffled in the din of voices and cutlery of the tavern. Divine frowned into her frothing mug, then looked up. The bartender smirked, tucking a strand of black hair behind her ear, revealing a hoop pierced into her helix. I hear you're looking for an adventure. You heard wrong, Divine muttered, tipping her glass mug for another vanilla-flavored gulp, eyeing the woman over the brim. Her skin was the medium brown of the liquid Divine swallowed, and she had a purple bauble pierced into her left nostril with a matching eye patch over her opposite eye. The raven-haired woman bent forward, wiping mug rings from the lacquered wood beside the small chest. Well, you're not here to drown your sorrows like the regulars, otherwise you wouldn't have ordered taro root beer. She tapped her nose on the same side as her eye patch, then whispered, There's no alcohol in it. Divine paused, her mug half upturned for another swig. Of course the bartender knew every drink, but Divine didn't expect to be accosted about it. She had a right to drink whatever she pleased. She downed the rest and set the mug heavily on the counter. What of it? She grumbled. The woman leaned on the bar. Divine's eyes traced the line of her blouse, her breast lifted by some sort of bodice underneath. Her right hand was unusual, complete fusion of the long and ring finger. My guess is you're here looking for someone or something, information, perhaps? You'd need to keep your wits about you for that. Her warm voice cut into Divine's thoughts. The genuine texture of the woman's ensuing smile almost made her admit, Actually, yes, I'm looking for someone who stole something important from me. And if Madeline saunters in, I can't afford to be addled. She has a colorful tattoo of a rainbow bird on her shoulder blade. Looks like it could fly right off her skin. Lines her eyes with charcoal. Have you seen her? Instead, she nodded towards the woman's hands. Accident or birth? Blessed by birth, she replied, her brow creasing as she pushed herself from the bar and took Divine's empty mug with the opposite hand. A little late, Divine realized her question could be considered rude and braced to soothe a confrontation with her magic. Then she tensed, rubbing her neck, painfully aware of her missing necklace. Her soul shield assignment was ready to heal emotional wounds, even if her ability to do that had been taken from her. Her current quest had brought out bitter qualities in herself she would rather not have, adding fizz to her usually calm surface. The necklace would have helped her soothe herself. Currently, she couldn't even calm a bug. Might or magic? The bartender asked. Divine frowned at the counter. Excuse me? I don't see any obvious weapon, but that could be easily hidden in that long coat of yours. Or you could wield magic. I'd like to know what your tactics will be on our little quest. I didn't agree to any. But you didn't outright refuse it. Means there is a chance. I just have to convince you. She winked with her left uncovered eye. The woman sat on the edge of the counter with a short hop, deftly bumping the chest out of the way with her hip. She swiveled her legs around to face Divine, who had to lean back to avoid planting her face between the woman's legs. Not that she hadn't been in a similar place before, but Divine preferred to know the person between whose legs she was sandwiched. The bartender grinned. I can be very convincing. Divine swallowed. I'm sure you can. But why me? I don't know. She waved her hand as if she were shooing bugs. I got a feeling about you. like we could work well together when things get a bit heated. Warmth rose on Divine's cheeks. She hoped they weren't as deep crimson as her shoulder-length curls. Either the taro root beer was spiked, or this woman was unabashedly flirting with her. She didn't mind. The attention gave her a rush, like using magic, though it lacked the floral scent of roses Divine alone would smell. The memory of the fragrance, determined by the construction of her talisman, was beginning to fade. Maybe that was just the despair of 5 months whispering from just beyond the next hill. Images of transportation offices, record books, and long roads coughing dust from turning wheels danced in her head. The woman jumped down, landing next to Divine's chair. Let's go someplace private, and I'll show you what's in the chest. Don't you have to work the bar? Divine gestured at the rows of bottles, rainbow bangles clinging as they slid up her forearm. Nah, I do it 'cause I'm bored. Silas? Divine recoiled at the shout. She saw the woman's left eye focus across the tavern and turned. Between a line of windows with frosted glass and tables and chairs that appeared to be pieced together from every home in Trelvania, stood a man with spiked brown hair. He wore a brown apron over his red shirt, which was open so wide the muscles of his chest were visible. Got it, boss, he called over the din, flashing a broad smile. Boss? Divine tilted her head as she swiveled back. The woman blew on the nails of one hand before turning her green eye on Divine. I own the place. I'm Saf. And I'm giving away a physical copy, and they come with cute character cards and bookmarks as well. So make sure you fill out that form.
Excellent. Thank you, Kristina. And thank you, everyone who read and who came today.